evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 Annual High School Race Relations Forum. My name is Wanda Allen Abraha, and I am the Director of the Human Relations, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department with the City of Winston-Salem. We are beyond excited to bring you tonight's discussion. As you can see, we are joined tonight by a number of our youth from right here in our local Winston-Salem, Forsyth County community. They are our featured guests, and they will be participating in a very robust discussion about the state of race relations. And so, of course, the purpose of the annual High School Race Relations Forum is to gauge the perspectives and the insights of our young people right here in our community when it pertains to race relations and what they're seeing and experiencing. And we have asked them to be as forthright and as honest and open as they care to be. And tonight, we just want you to know that tonight's discussion is very much unscripted. They have not been shown the questions that we're planning to pose, because we really do want them to bring their authentic selves to this conversation tonight. And so I think we can all learn so very much from their insights and their experiences, as well as their perspectives. In the Human Relations DEI Department, we are responsible for enforcing the civil rights ordinances on behalf of the City of Winston-Salem. And so we enforce local laws that pertain to housing discrimination, employment discrimination, and public accommodations discrimination. And in addition to that, we also focus inwardly on the City of Winston-Salem as an organization to help departments and employees understand exactly what is needed to have a truly diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment at work. And so that's just a snapshot of who we are and what we do. And tonight, we're excited to work with two of our 4 advisory boards. Tonight, you will see we will have 3 members of our Youth Advisory Council moderating the panel discussion. And the Youth Council is comprised of high school students from Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. And you will also see that tonight's program is sponsored by the City of Winston-Salem Human Relations Commission. And we are joined tonight by Commissioner Kerry Wiggins, who also chairs the Student Relations Committee for the Human Relations Commission. So again, we're really excited to be here and to bring you this discussion. We have some very, very wonderful VIPs from our local community who are here with us to bring greetings on behalf of their organizations. And so I would like to get started now with our Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Denise D. Adams, Dee Adams. And she has been a very strong proponent of our young people from the very beginning. And she's also a strong proponent of all things that are just and that are equitable. And so I would like to invite Mayor Pro Tem Adams now to bring greetings on behalf of the City Council. Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Thank you, Dr. Allen Abraha. Again, thank you all for being here this evening, taking the time out of your busy life, because sometimes people think younger people don't have busy lives. Your lives are very busy. And we appreciate you so much stepping up to be a part of this conversation. The theme is changing voices of diversity. As I've told all of you earlier, when I look at this screen, I see the City of Winston-Salem. I see it because it's just so diverse. It's a rainbow. It's definitely a rainbow. On behalf of our mayor, Alan Joines, and the Winston-Salem City Council, I would like to welcome you and greet you on the city's behalf, and that you will have a very interesting and profitable learning experience this evening, sharing information and perspective. Thank you so much. And next we'll have Commissioner Kerry Wiggins.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Tonight is an awesome night. I have had the opportunity to, or the privilege to share the youth committee for a few years now, and this is by far one of my most enjoyable forums that we hold for our youth. It gives us an opportunity as adults to listen to how race impact you. And as Wanda Allen Abraham stated, those questions that we're going to share tonight, these are all going to be new to you. And so you have an opportunity to share your true real-time perspective, how race is impacting you. What can we do as adults to make this community, your community, better? So please, let's share our perspectives. You have the ears of the city of Winston-Salem. You have the mayor pro tem here. You have the superintendent here. You have other individuals that are tuning in tonight to listen to you, the authority, on how we continue to move better to make the city of Winston-Salem a place that you can be proud to call home. Let's be respectful, let's be open, let's be honest, and let's be willing to make change. So thank you again for being here tonight to share your views and your perspectives. Now we will have a word from your Winston-Salem Forsyth County Superintendent, Trish McManus.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for letting me be here this evening and allowing us all to be here this evening. So thank you, City of Winston Human Relations Department. This is my third year attending this event, and every year I am blown away by the how insightful our students are and how just relevant their comments are and how meaningful their comments are. And so to all of our students, thank you all for as Mayor Pro Tem said, for giving your time tonight to actually make a difference, because your voice is what is going to change our future, change our world. I mean, it really is our young people, and you've got so much to say. So say it tonight. You've got a lot of people listening, and then it's about taking action to do something different. We want to change the future for the better for all of our students, not just some, all. And so, so thank you. Your comments are going to be recorded and will lead to some next steps as we really work to focus on how we create the best environment for all students. So thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn it over to our student moderators.
So, hi, my name is Ava Banner. I am a sophomore and I attend Reagan High School. I am part of the Youth Advisory Council. Tonight, our main course of action is to make sure that we can facilitate the questions properly and offer a safe and communicative spot for everybody to share their opinions on a matter that is very relevant to how our school system, how our youth in the community in general will function and move forward.
Hello, my name is Daniel Reyes. I also go to Reagan High School. I'm a junior, and like I said, we're here to read off the questions and basically facilitate this conversation, because this is an important topic that we need to discuss. So I'm excited to get started.
And hi, my name is Dale Page Thomas. I am a junior at the Middle College of Forsyth. And today, we're not only looking at Winston-Salem as a whole, we're looking towards the future of what our future looks like from the eyes of a high schooler.
So if we could have everybody start by introducing themselves, stating their name, their grade level, and the school that they attend. The first person that appears on my screen would be Eden Sharp from Mount Tabor. So if you could begin that conversation, and then we could just progress onward.
Hi, I'm Eden Sharp, and yes, I go to Mount Tabor. I'm a senior. And I'm sorry, could you repeat just like what the question was again?
You answered it perfectly. All we need to do is for everybody to state their name, their grade level, and the name of their school.
The next person I see on my screen would be, I think, Mariana Cooper. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
All right, I want to apologize in advance. I'm a mother of 4 dogs, and they all chose now. But hello, everyone. My name is Mariana Cooper. I am a 12th grader at the Middle College of Forsyth. Let's see. The next person I see on my screen is Kaylin.
Hey everybody, my name is Kaylin Godinez Martinez. I'm a senior in Carver High School. And the next person I see is Mary Houghton, I think. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mary Holton. I'm a senior at Tabor, but I'm here representing Career Center. And the next person on my screen is Lizzie Avasius.
Hi, my name is Lizzie Avasius, and I am in 12th grade, and I am in Middle College of Forsyth. And the next person that I see is Evelyn.
Hey, my name is Evelyn Mello, and I'm a senior in Glen High School. And the next person I see is Jade Horn.
Hi, my name is Jade Horn. I'm a senior at Atkins High School, and the next person I see on my screen is Chelsea Jackson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chelsea Jackson, and I'm a senior at Atkins High School. The next person I'm going to pass it on to is Amari.
Hello, my name is Amari Johnson. I am a sophomore at Paisley Ivy Magnet School. The next person I see would be Paula McNeil.
Hello, y'all. I'm Paula McNeil. I'm a senior at the Middle College of Forsyth. And the next person I see is Pablo.
Hi, my name is Pablo Campo Ayala. I am currently a junior at Reagan High School, and the next person I see is Christian Mendoza.
Hi, my name is Christian Mendoza Rios. I am a freshman at Paisley, and the next person I see is Gabrielle.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle Crumpton. I'm technically a junior at Reagan, but I spend my whole day at the Career Center. And the next person I see is Kristen Turner.
Hi, I'm Kristen Turner, and I'm a senior at East Forsyth High School. And the next person I see is Evelyn Zavala.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Zavala, and I am a senior at Glenn. And the next person I see is Anthony Hunter.
Hey, I'm Anthony Hunter. I go to Walkertown High School. I'm a senior. And the next person I see is Litzy Costello.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Castillo Rivera. I represent Parkland High School, but I spend the whole entire day at Career Center.
Okay, I think that was everyone. Can I go ahead and start with the next question? All right. What does diversity mean to you? And you can turn on your mic if you want to answer first. Go ahead.
All right, I guess I'll get us started. So, at least to me, diversity means being able to accurately see everyone reflected within a community or space. It's not just diversity of even race, but of age, of gender, because that's a spectrum. It's being able to see just how diverse the community itself is.
Piggyback on her, I think diversity is also about your race and also about your culture, your religion, what your faith is in, how you see yourself in the community, in your home as a whole person.
I want to add to that, and I feel like also diversity means as an individual, every person is different.
I just think that diversity is very much kind of a reflection of kind of a population as a whole. So if a population of an area is very diverse, you're also going to see that in kind of like a smaller, like an even smaller grouping of that as well.
Diversity to me is different people with different mindsets coming together to make something great, something that'll benefit everyone.
I agree with all of y'all at the same time, but diversity can also be like the inclusion of all the ideas, cultures, and tradition in one population, not just because you're one race, you only study this, but also like learning new stuff can also be included as diversity in a sense of way.
I think with diversity, it kind of goes hand in hand with also being like diversity and respect and like education about other cultures. So like if you're living in a diverse community, it's like your role not only to exist in it, but also to really become a part of it and learn more about other people.
Diversity for me is like what makes us unique in our own way, like actually who we are as a person.
For me, diversity is the inclusion of everyone and how everyone is unique in their own way.
Diversity to me is just like the differences among people, whether that is race or culture, and their relationship and coming together and seeing like their different upbringings and how everyone compares and contrasts to each other.
Yeah, similar to what everyone else said, diversity to me is just like it's similar to like individuality and how all of the different individuals and all of their different backgrounds can come together and then like Eden said, like learn from one another.
Okay, so if no one has anything else to add, we can move on to the next question. How do you think diversity affects your school's environment?
I think it's good to have a diverse group of people in a school because, like, with a diverse group of people, you can learn more about different types of people and not just like one group of just a small group of people.
I know for Atkins personally, diversity at Atkins is it's very like broad kind of group. So you're able to eat like in all of your classes, you're not just going to have kind of like one type of person. There's going to be a mix of many different types of people, many different races, religions, genders, all of that kind of stuff. And therefore you're able to kind of get a better view of like the world in general, because you hear these people talk about their own experiences as you get closer to each other, and you're able to kind of learn from one another.
Being in the situation where I attend both Career Center and Tabor, I do have to say Career Center has a very little diversity at it, especially compared to Tabor, which is one of the most diverse schools. And I will say, I think I learn a lot more just socially from attending Tabor and being able to see all different cultures and all ways of life than I do at Career Center.
Definitely. To add on to that, as someone who's also at the Career Center all day, it's really interesting to see what a school with a lot of diversity is like compared to a school without as much diversity. And I think being in classes and interacting with people that have different backgrounds and just lifestyles than you is a good experience to meet new people and understand others' point of view. So I think that's really important in a school environment.
I also attend Mount Tabor like Mary Holton does, and I agree it's like an extremely diverse community there. But at the same time, you notice like within schools that have such diverse groups of people, there are still cliques that form between people who share similar experiences. So I think like diversity doesn't always mean like everyone, like you'll see a friend group and it's people of all different backgrounds. Like there are also times in which like it can form like little clumps here and there. But so I just think it's important that if like people are in like communities like that to like branch out more and like talk to people who you might not be as familiar with their background or their culture.
I personally attend basically. It's on the smaller side. Having different, we have a lot of different types of cultures and languages and I guess minorities that go here, and it's very small. So I feel like we have like 3 major races, and within our school, I feel like we could be more diverse with it. As an IB school, I feel like we should maybe have more international students. I know that's not a given, but as in we all went to the same middle school, so I feel like having new people on, not just having the same people there, could be different and could impact our school as in size as well.
So at my school, at Middle College of Forsyth Tech, I feel like the diversity that I see in my school helps prepare us for what type of people we're going to be working with when we go out into the real world. You know, it paints a picture for us. It gives us an example of what we're going to see, how we're going to approach different people, and how we're going to be able to work together.
I know Eden spoke about this a little bit earlier, but I think it's really important to have diversity, because when you walk in a room and see people that look like you, it makes you feel comfortable. You're able to connect with someone, and whether that be your race or hobbies or anything like that, when you walk into a room and it's diverse, you're able to connect with your classmates and peers, and it creates a healthier classroom environment.
Yes, okay, there we go. I also agree with a lot of the points that are being made. Being not only just being at Middle College, but on the Forsyth Tech campus has really broadened my perspective, because not only do we have diversity among our student body, but also being able to go to school with college students shows us how to be more tolerant later on in a life, with not only if we go to college, but throughout the workforce.
I hate to interject on this conversation, sorry, but I would like to remind everybody that we do have a time constraint, and we are going up until 7:30. And while this conversation is wonderful, and the fact that everybody's getting to answer is a great thing, we do have to watch the time. And so I'd like to remind everybody, if we could limit our responses to about 2 minutes. And so we can fit in all the questions. If we could have only about 4 to 5, depending on the intensity of the question, 4 to 5 responses. Thank you.
I want to make one final comment on this question. I want to go back to what I think it was Chelsea was. I personally go to Reagan, and I know two of the moderators also go to Reagan, but Reagan is not very diverse community, I guess you would say. And adding on to what Chelsea said, like I personally feel like I don't fit in as much as like others, as I don't really find I guess you would say my group or minority. So I feel like others in the school also feel the same, as it is a predominantly white school.
All right, we can go on to our next question. Is race an easy or difficult issue to discuss, and why?
Well, it really depends on who you're asking. You could take offense to when somebody says, oh, he's black or she's white. I mean, that's what you would call them. But again, it's really an opinion. It's not really a factual statement you just asked. So it really kind of depends on the person. I don't think talking about race is offensive unless you take offense to whatever the person is saying, which in that case, then that brings up a whole different discussion.
I think like it can go either way. I think it's in a sense a difficult topic to discuss because people are sometimes afraid to talk about it, which can kind of be counterproductive, because if people want to make change in a community, like simply not talking about a problem is not going to do anything to help improve it. But I think in the other sense, it's easy to talk about because there are so many areas of people's lives that simply just based on race, like how their lives are affected based on that. And everyone has an opinion, whether they want to voice it or not. So in that sense, I think like there are a lot of things that the topic of race can cover, but many people are just too afraid to speak up.
I also think that, I also just think that it has, talking about race has a history, especially of violence, throughout the American history. But I do believe it's very important to talk about. And especially in our generation, but not so much for the older generation, it has become a lot more common and a lot easier to discuss, just with the more diversity we have. But overall, it's something that it needs to happen, whether it's easy or hard, depending on the person.
Yeah, totally. I think that having conversations about race is something that has gotten easier because more people are educated and thinking about it, and so it's easier to have like more detailed conversations about it. But on like a more personal note, I think it is a really difficult topic to bring up because you don't want to inconvenience anyone or make them feel uncomfortable, which is like a whole different kind of topic. But I think it's really important that instead of focusing on more like race-centered conversations, to build relationships first and then have conversations with those people. So that way it can be a healthier environment.
Yeah, I very much agree. I think that it could either go like it can be a very difficult topic to talk about because people can make it difficult because they're so touchy on the subject, or it can be very easy to talk about, especially if your like views align very similarly to the idea, to like topics that discuss race. But I also think that in more diverse settings, that it's going to be a lot easier to talk about race because there's a lot of times there's a kind of overlap in experiences and ideas, especially if you kind of like raised similarly, and grew around kind of like similar groups as people as well.
Yes, I agree with a lot of the points everyone's been making, but I also believe that in discussion to race, there's a lot of nuance in the points that we make because I feel that it's easier to talk about race within your own ethnic identity than it is to speak with it with other people.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next question for time's sake. Have you ever discussed issues of race or ethnicity at your school? In what context and to what extent?
Truthfully, I've never had a conversation just like in my class about race and like diversity, but I will say for a newspaper, I have written an article about it, which definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things. But if that was read by the student body, I can't say.
I'm gonna have to agree at Parkland. The only reason you talk about race is more like if you take one of the social classes. But overall in classes, I wouldn't say you discuss race. Perhaps you briefly pass on it through history, but you don't really talk about it unless you take a language class.
All right, Jade, you can go ahead and respond.
Yeah, I very much agree with what everyone has been saying. I think that the only time that I've ever like really talked in depth and very like well about race is when it's in like social study classes, sometimes in English classes, but it's only if the book pertains to race. But it never just comes up in kind of casual conversation, except for like when it was closer to June. When the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, it was a very like heavy topic that went around in all classes and managed to like kind of work its way into atmospheres such as that.
All right, Eden.
Yeah, so last year, I was lucky enough to have an AP language teacher who assigned a book, Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson, to our class, which was all about racial discrimination and racial justice in like the social justice system, and how people are adversely affected by different aspects in the system. So we had a lot of class discussions, and I think this was really beneficial to my class and to like my understanding of other people's experiences. So I think that in any situation other than in that class, I haven't had great conversations about it. But when I did last year, like it was really beneficial to like cultural and like racial understanding.
Amari.
Personally, at Paisley, again with Eden, in my class, I have my teacher's name is Mr. Marvelli, and we were going over a book called Night. It was about the Holocaust, and then last year we read a book, Dear Martin, Long Way Down, about the decisions we have to make, being Black and a man, how to talk about myself, how to carry myself in the type of way that I do. And so I guess it's something that you call kind of social switching. So me talking with my friends versus me talking with teachers are very different. So we really never have those discussions in schools talking about race. And I feel like maybe we should like celebrate when we do. I guess we celebrate different months, but we really never get into it. Maybe we should have a type of formal dance, African dance, or maybe we can celebrate like Hispanic heritage, things like that. I feel like we should incorporate in our schools and programs to more talk about in depth on what those heritages mean.
All right, Evelyn.
I wanted to ask what everyone else has said. I feel like at Glenn, we don't talk about race other than in like history classes. And then also when we have like the beginning of the year, we have the meetings with our principals in the auditorium, and they only mention like rules, like not discriminating anyone and that they accept everyone But other than that, going like deeper in the topic, we never really have talks about race.
All right, moving on to the next question. Do you have close friends that are of a different race? And do you find it difficult to relate to some races or cultures? And the first hand that I see is Evelyn, once more.
No, sorry, I forgot to take the hand off.
You're fine. Then the first hand I would see would be Lizzie.
When it comes to like my friend groups and stuff, it depends. It's usually me that struggles with understanding them when their background, because I completely understand there's history and they have their own struggles, and it's hard because I want to understand more, but it's more or less we don't know, like schools don't really teach much about history anyway, and if they do, it's more so it being covered up. So whenever it comes to like them discussing things, it's like I really wish that I could understand it more. And sometimes my friends do explain it more, and usually that's like the only kind of outlet that I get between them. So
all right, the next hand I see is Christian.
All right, so my two closest friends, one is also Hispanic as I am, and one is Black. So while I don't think it's that hard for me to connect, I think it might be hard for the one that isn't Hispanic to understand, because while it doesn't really happen often, there have been times where we've had to explain a few things to her because she just doesn't understand a few things. So I feel it can be hard, but yeah.
Chelsea, you may go ahead.
Thankfully, I go to a school where I'm able to interact with people from all different cultures and races, and I think it's not difficult for me to understand them and for others to understand my culture and stuff. But I think the main thing that you have to remember is just to respect each other. And when you want to know something, you ask in a respectful way, and hopefully they can understand that you're being respectful and not trying to be any type of way, and they can answer you truthfully and you can learn more about them. And I think it's just mainly a respect thing.
And then Anthony.
Me personally, I do have friends outside of my race that go to my school, and I don't really think it's difficult understanding like their past and their culture, especially like if you take the time and really like talk through it and really understand with them because they're your friend, you know. But honestly, like you just have to be like really like willing to really understand. Excuse me, to really understand if you really want to.
I'm gonna go ahead and go on to the next question. What are some barriers that keep students away from making friends outside of race? And first hand I see is Lizzie.
I think it's more or less because outside of race, when it's people outside of their race, they find it harder to like possibly connect with them better than people within their own race. So at least that's what I like seen. And usually when you know someone within the same race, you're like, oh, okay, that's the group that I can connect to more and I have more stuff to talk to them about. But when it comes to outside of the race, it's more or less I'm too scared to talk to them, or I'm a bit nervous to see if what they think of me, you know?
Next, I see Mary.
I do agree that just culturally it can be difficult and just like having a lack of similarities. But I think it's also important to point out that even those who attend diverse schools, such as like Tabor, within one's own class, they may not be diverse. For instance, my classes, I think I have 3 classes at Tabor, and there might be 1 Black kid per class. And so that also just like, I am not around anyone except my own race for the like majority of my day. And that also makes it harder to reach out to people of other races to connect with them as well.
Okay, next I see Anthony.
At my school, personally, I feel like it can be almost very difficult to make friends with other races because, like, especially at like lunch or something like that, all the races sit at like with each other. Like the Black kids sit with the Black kids, the white kids sit with the white kids, and the Hispanics sit with the Hispanics. And I feel like if you were trying to like make friends with them, it's kind of intimidating a little bit for you to be like feel like you're different from them and to walk up to like a whole group of them and try to like make friends. I feel like that could be intimidating, so that can also make it difficult to become friends with.
Next, I see Jade.
I very much agree with what Anthony said. There are at Atkins, there's a lot of times where you'll see kind of cliques of specific races that kind of go like and hang out together. And most of the time it could be just because they know each other from outside of school, and that's just kind of how they like grouped up before. But sometimes it is just because you're going to find comfort within their own race, and so that's kind of what they like more stick to. And then I also agree with what Mary said, because a lot of times there are classes at Atkins that will only have like maybe 3 or 4 Black people in them, or only like maybe 2 Black people and 1 like that's Latino or Latina. But yeah, I think that it is kind of make it difficult to talk to anyone outside your race besides that.
All right, Amari, you're up.
I completely agree with Mary Holton. At my school, I'll say there's top of my head there's about 3 Black male students who are actually like, doing their work, like participating in class, and so when you try to interact with those other races, those other cultures, it can be very intimidating. And it's like, sometimes you're scared, but sometimes they are reluctant to let you in, because why would you just come up to a group and just like, introduce yourself? That's not a norm these days. And so it used to be that way. Like in elementary school, you didn't really worry about who you sat with. Like everybody was your friend. So when you kind of grow up older and realize who you are and like how you feel about things, and you start to find quote unquote your tribes. My mom always calls it, find who you belong with. And so once you've done that, then you typically close that friend group off, and it's kind of hard to, introduce new people into.
Okay, we're gonna go with Paula and then Mariana, okay?
I agree with everyone. I also think that, maybe students aren't as, connect to each other, from different racial backgrounds, because maybe they can't relate, or maybe they're afraid of not being, maybe good enough, or maybe like, maybe they won't like me, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they won't understand me when, the whole point is, learning from each other.
Yes, I also relate to what Paula just said, but I also relate to a lot of the points that have been made throughout this question. So before I was at middle college, I was at Paisley for 9th and 10th grade, and I can say that in my classes that they were primarily African American and Hispanic, while the more accelerated classes tended to be primarily white. But also on the topic of relatability, you tend to stick with people because you have that cultural bond or experience. I feel like there's a barrier in the language that we each know with each other. be able to properly communicate with each other our differences in interest and background. And so I feel like once we overcome that language barrier, then we'll be able to become friends with people with more diverse cultures.
All right, so we can move on. Do race relations affect classroom behavior and or academic achievement? All right. Mariana, if you want to start this conversation.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, it kind of just relates to what what a lot of people said in their previous classes. So again, relating back to my experience at Paisley, while there were two different math groups, there was the Math 2 and the Math 3 group. And that was the Math 3 group, which was at that point the most accelerated you could get for that level. It was primarily white. But even on the middle school side, a lot of us being like minorities didn't have access to the same opportunities that IB program offered us. We were in just regular classes and we were definitely grouped together in certain ways. One hallway was primarily minorities and the other one was that. So there was still the separation that affected the kind of opportunities we received. And while they tried to make sure everyone was getting the same opportunities, it was kind of hard to do it with that separation.
All right, Amari, you're next.
I'm so sorry. I will answer the question. Can you repeat your question? I left my hand up, but I'm going to answer.
You're fine. So the question is, do race relations affect classroom behavior and or academic achievement?
Yes, most definitely. I'll say, okay, hear me out here. Typically in y'all's example, let's see, you don't have to answer, but the Black race is typically perceived as the reckless, not doing their work, rowdy students. Now, not some of them like myself, but like some of them, most of them are. So like, you have the reputation, it's kind of hard to, make relationships with teachers, like show who really are, and then like, versus it would be harder for me to come to class as a Black student than for somebody else to come in and like work and show them that I'm not who they think I am by my outside looks. And so it can be difficult trying to find that balance and to, communicate.
All right, Gabrielle.
Well, as someone who used to go to Paisley as well, I think that it's, like Amari said, a lot of perception. When I was attending Paisley, a lot of people would assume, especially teachers, that I wasn't in the IB program. Like I would be walking to my class and they would ask me like, oh, where are you going? Like you need to be getting to class. And then they wouldn't believe me when I said what class I was going to. But I don't think it's always that severe, but I think a lot of times when people are focused on getting a task done, they tend to lean on like their biases and stuff in order to make things easier for themselves. So I think teachers and a lot of students who don't know each other have like this type of wall in between them because they don't understand each other well and already have like these perceptions in their minds of what the other should act like.
All right, Anthony.
I very much agree with what Gabrielle said because I've been in a class where I've been treated differently because my teacher assumed that I was, I guess, like a troublemaker just off of the way like I look and how I dress and stuff like that and the people that I hang around, but really I really wasn't like, I guess, like you could easily tell how people that look like me was treated versus people that were different from me was treated. Like it was very different. And I just felt like she like just assumed that I was something just because of my race, I guess.
All right, let's see.
Well, I have to agree. At times, I feel like probably the minority group will always suffer because we don't have the same resources. And at other times, it's also because, well, depending on your economic stability also affects at times with race. Like, for middle school, I went to a primarily white school, but for me, it was easier to adapt in a certain way because I was raised with certain traditions that could semi-relate to the white culture. But other times it was difficult because my culture was different than what was presented, and often I was treated differently because I wasn't the same race as the rest of my classmates.
All right, so we're gonna go Mary, then Paula, then we'll move on to the next question.
I actually fell down like a rabbit hole about this last year, and it is what I wrote an article about. So I went ahead and pulled up like some of the statistics I had, and it's just not only. I agree with what Litzy said. The resources are not distributed evenly. There's a trend just across the country that schools that are high in minorities have report lower than average test scores, and that's not just because like one group is smarter than the other. It's just because they simply also receive less resources. And then like AP exams also, for instance, Black students, they make up 59% of all public schools, but only 8.8% of all AP exams are taken by Black students. And then I even interviewed Mrs. McManus about this last year, who said Black students are 4 times more likely to be suspended just in our own district. So it is like a very important thing, just stereotypes and just the resource, how those are spread amongst schools.
All right, Paula?
So I agree with what they said, and this kind of relates to it. You know, we are more minority groups are more targeted to the standard that's set for them, and it's not even sorry, it's the standard that's set for them. So they feel like that's all that they could live up to. You know, even like with their families, right? You know, say that their mom didn't, achieve academically, their dad didn't, or their cousin didn't. So then they feel like they can't do it either. So all these kids need is a little push, someone to believe.
All right, moving on to the next question. As your generation gets older, goes to college, and gets jobs, how will our nation's diversity affect your life? And the first person's hand that I see up is Chelsea.
So I would say definitely that I see going on now is that race relations are definitely getting better when I go into a company now, like a big company. There's often more diversity, like women, all genders, sexualities, races. And I think that's really good that we're making progress. For myself, I want to see it even larger. Like, I feel like you shouldn't walk into a room and there only be one ethnic group or culture represented. I want there to be all cultures represented. And I hope that our generation can be the ones to push for that.
The next person I see with their hand up is Jade.
There you go. I very much agree with what Chelsea said. Recently, there has been like a major uptick in seeing females, not just females, but Black African American females in a lot of like STEM fields. And I very much appreciate that because as someone who wants to go into a STEM field, it's also like a very good thing for not only just the current generation, but generations to come, so that they can see themselves in someone who's in a field that they want to be in, and they can therefore like reflect onto them and make them more passionate about what they want to do, and make them put in more work to get to that point where they're able to do what they want.
Next person I see with their hand up is Eden.
Yeah, so I think that the direction that our society in America right now is going is definitely positive because you're seeing more representation not only in like the workforce as like certain like fields, but also like in the government, like representation is becoming more diverse, and it's nowhere near what America actually looks like right now. But like as the younger generations are becoming old enough to become part of that, I think that will like be given more of a voice. And I definitely think that younger people are and I'm not saying this applies to everyone, but a lot of younger people are way more inclusive and way more ready to expose themselves to uncomfortable topics, or maybe like fighting for a change.
So I hate to interject, but if there's anybody out there who we have not heard from in a while, or who we have not heard from at all, if they could speak up, then that would be awesome. Once again, we want to hear everybody's voices, and we really want to make sure that everybody is included within this. So anybody who is feeling as if they're being overshadowed, you can go on and unmute your mic, and obviously be respectful of the person speaking at the time, but go ahead and say what you think relating to this question. All right, so for now, we will be moving on to the next question, and that would be question 10. Jayla, if you would like to present that question, the field is all yours.
Thank you. Do you feel that your school adequately prepares you for diversity in the world? And I see Jade first.
I know that my school personally does a wonderful job of preparing us for how like diverse the world is, just because of the population of people that come into Atkins. I know that you always can like see someone of like another race. It's not just like one race that you will typically see. I think there's kind of like a pretty even distribution of like all different types of races. So I very much appreciate that about Atkins. And yeah, I think it does kind of reflect the actual population of not just Winston-Salem, but North Carolina as a whole, as North Carolina begins to start growing.
Okay, I see Lizzie.
Honestly, from Middle College of Forsyth, I would say they've done an actually pretty decent job of like with the diversity, preparing us for diversity in the world, because coming like there's everybody from almost everywhere and everybody's different. And I think with that, when our school, I would have never expected myself to be in such a diverse community coming from Mount Tabor, but I'd say they've done a pretty well job.
All right, I see Kaylin.
Thank you. I feel like I go to Carver High School, but I feel like they got to talk to us about diversity even more, because in my school there's only 2 races like overall. So I feel like we got to come together as a family, and they got to like talk to us about what is it, and to get us prepared for the outside world.
All right, I see Evelyn.
I feel like Glenn had a good job with that. I see at my school, I see a lot of groups that have all types of races and they seem to get along well. And also clubs, I feel like is a big part of it in sports because they really help us come together and just do big things and enjoy school.
All right, because of time, I'm gonna cap this question and we're gonna move on to the next one. Do you feel you are fully accepted by society? How do you feel as a community? Do they show you respect for your diversity and culture or just your identity in general?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, of course. Do you feel that you are fully accepted by society? How can we as a community show our appreciation of diversity and different cultures? And the first hand I see is Kelsey.
I would say I think our community is becoming better. I wouldn't say it's at its fullest potential right now, but I think it's becoming better. One thing that I do notice myself is that as a Black woman, I often feel like I have to work 10 times harder than maybe a counterpart of mine or a classmate just to prove that like I can still like hang on with the other classmates and stuff and be my fullest potential. And I think that just comes with a lot of stereotypes and misconceptions that people already have in their mind from like years of history. And I think once we get kind of past that and start to accept that people do not have to fit into one box and one stereotype, we can really like advance and move forward.
All right, next I see Lindsay Castillo.
I have to agree. I feel like at times the minorities kind of have to struggle and work harder to kind of make the public or the teachers think that we can keep up with our teammates. Or other times it kind of depends the environment because there's certain teachers who really don't care and actually just wait to judge you until you act upon it. So like they'll wait until you do your work and turn in your projects to start judging you right then and there. But then others just immediately put you on the stereotype just because you're a minority.
All right, next, let's hear from Anthony.
At my school, I believe that I'm just now being in my senior year, being fully accepted. Like I feel like my first 3 years, I had to like she said, work 10 times as hard to be accepted because I was put in a box that, oh, he's gonna be something that I'm not just off the color of my skin. And I feel like that shouldn't be the case. I feel like they should be like open-minded from the jump, and that I'm really not like really had to take 3 years of high school just to not be fully like I had to prove them wrong, basically.
All right, and lastly, Jay, do you still want to answer?
Yeah, I'll still go. I wanted to say that what Chelsea said was I very much agree with. I think as a Black woman, not just like this is like not just something that I know for a fact, but my mother has also told me that all the time, that as a Black woman, you're going to have to work harder in the world. You're going to have to like do more in order to show people that you're not just kind of like this misconception. But I think as the world becomes more diverse and it begins to include people of color, people of other like genders and sexualities and things like that, that it will be easier for not just Black women, but Black men, Latino women, Latino men. I think that they will, I think it'll be easier for us to come into kind of more like confined spaces of like only a certain gender or a certain race.
So we're going to be moving on to our final question. You guys have been doing really well, and this has been a really eventful and just overall a wonderful conversation. So for our final question, what more can we do to improve the race relations within the community of Winston-Salem? And I believe that the first hand I saw was Kristen Turner.
Oh, I was meaning to comment on the other question, but I can answer this one, I guess. So can you repeat it?
Yeah, of course. What more can we do to improve the race relations within the community of Winston-Salem?
I mean, I guess just being more involved, like within classroom settings and everything. I feel like that's the most accurate way to get like a reading on how things are in like the smallest setting, which is a classroom. So possibly like sending people in to just like observe and then like collect information within our community is the best way to do that.
And then the next hand I see on my screen is Evelyn.
I feel like we also have to be more open-minded and more open to learn about one another.
And then due to the time, I'm going to go Eden and then Paula.
I think that to really create a positive impact from like for the future is to start helping kids from a younger age gain more knowledge of other cultures and other races, because just out of like personal experience, one of my best friends in middle school, she was Korean, and like she faced a lot of like microaggressions, even not even like super blatant racism, but like just small things from her peers that really affected her and still do today. And that was like in middle school with a bunch of 12-year-olds. So I think by like really starting from a young age to help people better understand other cultures and to be more respectful would be a great way to help connect people.
Ava, could you ask the question one more time?
Oh yeah, of course. So the next question is, what more can we do to improve the race relations within the community of Winston-Salem?
So I honestly feel like we should have more community centers where we could host events where different people with different ethnic backgrounds, whether they're in higher positions or from local businesses, coming together and communicating and learning about each other, learning from each other. And from that, it opens up more opportunities for more businesses, for more job employment, and, just learning, just expanding who we are and who we are together.
And finally, we will have Pablo.
I want to connect this to like the school system in a way. I think to better improve, I think we should like and not remove, I guess, but we should like be open to more students all over Forsyth County. As I know there's like a certain rule where bus transportation is not available to other schools such as Reagan, North Forsyth, Walkertown, Mount Tabor. For example, I know my cousin, she would really like to go to Reagan, but she has the issue that she has no transportation unless she has her own car, which is not really viable for her, as both her parents work early in the morning, which means that she has no transportation. And although they're like smart enough kids that really want to go to certain schools with high academics, such as Reagan or West Forsyth, they do not have the opportunity to do so due to that issue.
Okay, Youth Council, was that the end of the questions?
Yes, that was the and. We have answered all 12. And I just wanted to say that I think everybody did a wonderful job. There was a lot of communication, a lot of ideas, a lot of good points that needed to be heard. And all of it makes more of an impact when it comes from the youth, when it comes directly from us. So I want to thank everybody for attending the meeting. I want to thank everybody for speaking up. And always make sure that you're involved and that you make sure to express your opinions and show up to things like this. So thank you guys very much. You guys did great.
Thank you, Ava, Daniel, Jayla. Let's give our moderators a round of applause, everybody. This was not an easy conversation to moderate, and let's give you a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. You all did a stellar job. I knew you would. I knew you would. And so as we wrap up, I think it would be awesome to give Dr. McManus and Mayor Pro Tem Adams the opportunity to share any closing thoughts or insights they may have, so that they can give you their reaction to what they heard. I told you what my reaction was. And so I think it would be real valuable to hear from both of them. So if you don't mind, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I thank you, Dr. McManus. Very insightful that you have opinions about all of this. And some of the things I heard, as Dr. McManus said, I'm sure she heard some of it. It means that we got to go to work on some things. And everybody knows that change is a very difficult thing for most human beings to handle. They don't like change. Everybody, for the most part, likes their world to be the bubble that they enjoy. I look forward in the future to seeing what the city can do, our government side, as to help make this better, a better conversation. You are, I don't want to say fortunate, but when I was your age, we didn't get to talk about any of this. It just happened. You just said nothing and you dealt with it, you know. And I heard some of the comments from all of you, you know, how this affects you or doesn't affect you, or what is your insight. I implore you to work to make the world a better place. That's what I do 24/7. That's what I've always done all my life. I just want the world to be a better place. And that encompasses humanity, respect, inclusion, and all of that other stuff. But Dr. McManus, look like you got a list.
I do. I've been writing, but I will. Just the comments were extremely thoughtful. Just from starting out with what diversity means to each of you, and hearing that, you know, all the way to the ending about how we can improve, you know, race relations and embracing all people at the end, and how we can make Winston-Salem a better place. So just the whole spectrum of responses was pretty incredible, very impressive. You know, of course, I'm paying attention a lot to the parts about in school. And so, you know, hearing things about the resourcing and it being inequitable resourcing, and the, you know, the comments made about schools with more students of color being under-resourced, that is extremely important to me, and that changes at the highest levels. We are working a lot on also, when you talked about, in some of you and different people said different things, but talking about representation in advanced courses and representation on students taking assessments, and that less students of color are involved in that, and more, you know, those are all things that are major parts of our strategic plan right now, and that we are really committed to. Again, when I said earlier that unless all students, and I mean all races of students, are succeeding at the highest levels, then we've got a ton of work to do. I don't want to see, you know, gaps that exist when you think of our bar graphs and you see, you know, white and you see Black, Hispanic. No, you should not be able to look at any data in our system and see a difference where that line graph goes. And so those are things we are very committed to, you guys. And you speaking up, you know, the fact that you said that race is really mostly talked about in social studies, but you all are a generation that's comfortable talking about it. I think we need to kind of push on it and just keep pushing on the fact that just in social studies class, or just one time a month for, Hispanic heritage, or, African American studies, or that's not enough. And so just a lot of incredible comments that we will continue working on. But your voice, it can't just be this one and done. It's got to just be a continued conversation. So there are going to be other ways you're going to see throughout the year where your voice can be heard. So just stay tuned, and just continue being the incredible students that you are, incredible young people that you are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McManus. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your very valuable feedback and your input and insights. And so to those of you from the high schools who participated as panelists, as we would call you if we were in person, and for the moderators, again, wonderful job. We cannot thank you enough for being brave enough to agree to having this type of conversation. It's not easy, we know that. And so please feel free to watch this on YouTube, the city's YouTube channel. Also on the City of Winston-Salem's website, you can watch this. So you can share the link with others if they weren't able to watch live. And also on the City of Winston-Salem City Government Facebook page. We have already posted the link. We did that while you all were speaking. And on LinkedIn, I have it on my LinkedIn. If you go under my name, you'll see it there. But we have a whole plethora of ways that you can pull this link up. So feel free to look at it, and also to share it with your peers and with your family, okay? Your families, I should say. All right, then. Well, thank you all so very much again, and we hope to hear from you during the course of the school year. If you need us, let us know. And some of you, of course, we'll see you on Youth Council as we continue to work on this issue and others that are important to your age group. Take care, everybody. Stay safe in this hurricane. Take care.